Morning, members. This is the meeting of the Establishment Subcommittee. There are 4 papers on the agenda. The administration submitted an information paper ECI 2014-15-13 for members' perusal. The paper informs members of the change in the directorate grade since 2002 and the possible impact on that directorate establishment to be brought about by these 4 items. I'd like to remind members, if you have direct or indirect pecuniary interest related to the items for discussion today, please declare the nature of such interest before you speak according to the rules of procedure, Rule 83A. I'd also like to draw your attention to Rule 84 of the ROP and how you should vote if there is direct pecuniary interest. The first item, we need to carry on with the discussion of an item rolled over from last time. Head 158 or paper EC 18. Proposed creation of a supernumerary post of Administrative Officer Staff Grade CD2 in the Transport Branch of the Transport and Housing Bureau for 2 years and 6 months from the 1st of April 2015 or from the date of approval by the FC to oversee and steer the roles and positioning review of the Public Transport Strategy Study. I have already introduced the officials last time. I won't repeat that. In accordance with the request made by members on the 16th of February, the administration has already provided supplementary information on this item. This is paper ESC 58/14-15 issued to members on the 5th of March. At the last meeting, Mr. Albert Chan, in accordance with Para 31A of the Establishment Subcommittee procedure, submitted a proposed motion. I have already ruled that it has direct relationship with this item, and the subcommittee has already agreed to process that motion. And that motion has been sent to members again on the 3rd of March under ESC 55/14-15. Since members have already agreed that we will process the motion to be proposed by Mr. Albert Chan, I will now ask Mr. Albert Chan to speak. You have 3 minutes. Mr. Chan. Chairman, no one would debate the review of the different modes of transport, but the basis of that review must be done on the basis of a comprehensive transport study, so we can distribute the roles and functions of the different modes of transport and how they are going to affect the public. We also have to be mindful of the resources of the government. And when we talk about transport needs, we are not only talking about the public. In the past, CTS would include asking some vehicles to use natural gas or to build footbridges at certain places. So everything has to fit together. The last review was done in 1999. At that time, the ridership on buses was bigger than that on the MTR. And the Ma On Shan Spur Line was not commissioned. A lot of the Ma On Shan or other rails have not been commissioned, not even the West Rail. Now, if you only seek to do a review on public transport without looking at other strategies, especially the MTR-CL, I think that is highly unconvincing. In the past 17 years, the MTR has monopolized the transport market. It is a fait accompli. If you still allow MTR to dominate the market, how can we assign the roles and functions of other modes of transport? First of all, we have to look at the positioning of the MTR-CL and its resources, and also what kind of government support there should be. If you do not make a determination on this one, it is very difficult to determine the roles of other modes of transport. We cannot go by speculation. It is not fair to investors and the public. Many members of the public have a lot to say about the services of the MTRCL and how it interfaces with other modes of transport, and especially the concessionary fares. If you only review buses, say for example in Tongchong, you have interchange concessionary fares. Say for example you subsidize 50 cents if you switch from PLB to buses, but that is not available to other modes of transport. Therefore, I insist that you should do the CTS again before you review the different modes of transport. I'm not negating the necessity for this review. I'm just saying, even without the review, individual modes of transport can still develop, and the government can still make decisions. Like developing East Kowloon, you did not have a review, and you already go for the monorail, the elevated monorail. This is precedented, and I urge members to support me. Does any member wish to speak? Please press the button to indicate your stance. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, 3 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. I look at it this way. We conducted the second and third CTS. We have arrived at a few major decisions. First, that the railway will be the backbone of our transport system. That is confirmed in both the second and third CTS. And also, we did a study on future railway development, and that has been implemented. However, this time around, in the proposed study, we do not say clearly, because in the second CTS, we have said that public transport should have priority of road use. That is a strategy. And because of that, the growth of private cars should be controlled on a yearly basis. In the past 10 years, what we see is that it seems we have only emphasized the railway as our backbone of transport system. And as for the road service, we have been building roads, all right, but we do not have a strategy as to how public transport can really have priority in terms of road use, and how we can control the growth rate of private cars, so that our city will not just continue to grow, to build more roads in order to tackle congestion. There must be a prioritizing of our work. Therefore, I think the government should state clearly that in this topical study, we must include the angle or perspective of allowing public transport to have priority in road use. And you also have to state clearly that you would seek to control the growth rate of private cars, at least the arrangement for private cars to use busy roads. This is in line with the basic principles pointed out by a study done by the Transport Panel. If you can map out those directions clearly, then you ask for the creation of posts, then we would understand what those posts are for. Now, as for a roles and positioning review, instead of doing a fourth CTS, well, I think you should do a fourth CTS, because that will cater to the long term. But you should also start the public transport strategy study as soon as possible, PTSS. Sorry, your time is up. Does any other member wish to speak? Please press the button. The PS, would you like to respond to the motion to be moved by Mr. Albert Chan? Yes, thank you, Chairman. With regard to the public transport strategy study, the Bureau said stated our views very clearly many times. Basically, we completed the blueprint for railway development last year. The next step, which should urgently be done, would be to operate on the basis of that blueprint, because that blueprint confirms that the railway will be the backbone of our transport system. On that basis, how we can allow different modes of transport to develop so the public can have a choice, and also the public transport operators will have room for survival and development. Today, what we should do urgently is the PTSS. I'd also like to respond to the question raised by Mr. Wu Chi-wai. It's clear that apart from confirming that railway is our backbone, equally important is that our transport strategy would have public transport as the core. On the 13th of February, no, the 4th of March, sorry, yes, the 4th of March, we sent members a letter, and we stated very clearly in that letter that that is the basis. That will be the basis for the study, and that is also our starting point. Thank you. Mr. Albert Chan, you have 1 minute to respond. I have nothing else to supplement. I just like members to support the motion. Right, the motion will be put to a vote, and the motion is shown on the screen. Will those in favor of the motion please raise their hands? Those against? I ask for a division. Mr. Albert Chan has claimed a division. The bell will ring for 5 minutes.
好，現在開始表決，唔該。
Voting begins. Before I announce the results, please check your votes. Voting is now closed, and the results will be displayed. Seven for, 9 against, 7 abstained. I declare the motion negative. Does any member wish to speak on this item, EC 2014-15 number 18? Please press the request to speak button.
All
right. If no further question is raised, I'll now put this item to the vote. Will those in favor of EC bracket 2014-15 number 18, please raise your hands. Mr. Alpachan claims the division. The division bell will ring for 5 minutes. Members, please check if you are on the right seat. Please check your seat.
好，現在開始表決，唔該。
Voting begins.
喺我宣布
Before I announce the result, members please check your votes. Voting is now closed, and let's display the result. 19 for, 4 against, no abstention. I declare the motion passed. We now move on to the second item. It's EC 2014-15, number 19, Hong Kong Police Force. Members, this is about the creation of a permanent post in the Hong Kong Police Force with effect from the date of approval by the Finance Committee to lead the Cyber Security and Technology Crime Bureau is a Chief Superintendent of Police. On the 3rd of June 2014, the administration consulted the security panel of this council. For this item, we have the following officials in attendance: Mr. John Lee, Under Secretary for Security; Mrs. Mi-Ling Ng, Principal Assistant Secretary for Security; Ms. Irene Ho, Chief Superintendent of Police; Mr. Francis Chan, Senior Superintendent of Police. As Mr. William Kwok Kim, Chairman of the Security Panel, is not a member of this subcommittee and is not present today, I would like to state in summary form the deliberation of the panel. On the 3rd of June 2014, the security panel had a discussion on the proposal. Some members were concerned why the Technology Crime Division should be upgraded to the Cyber Security and Technology Crime Bureau, and some members are concerned whether the future bureau will be monitoring civilians and whether that would limit our freedom of speech. As explained by the administration, the upgrading of the division to Technology Crime Division to a bureau is to enhance the overall capability to tackle cyber security and crimes. And its work will remain the same. Members have had different views on whether they support the submission of the proposal to the ESC. 5 said they opposed to it, 5 said they supported it, 5 against it, and 5 did not express any view. And members have asked for further information which the administration has complied in relation to the scope of work of the Bureau, and the information has been submitted. Please press the request to speak button if you want to speak. Mr. Lee Chak-yan, I have a question. It's not just about creating a chief superintendent of police post. Actually, there's been an increase of 70% of manpower. When did it happen and why? All of a sudden, within a year, you increased the manpower by 70%. Is it that in the last year we saw a drastic increase in cybercrime? Or is it that you wanted to monitor news about protests and assemblies online? Under Secretary, we need to increase our manpower in view of the trend with cyber crime. The trend is a steep one in terms of figures. We have seen a 4-time increase of cyber crimes. The loss involved has gone up by 25 times. If you compare the figures with other crime statistics, since the reunification, crimes in Hong Kong have been on the decrease. So while the general crime situation is a downward trend, averaging 5 to 7% per year, cyber crimes went up 4 to 5 times, and the loss has increased by 20%. The original rate of increase was 30 to 70% annually. One of the reasons why we have seen a steep trend of increase, because we are now relying more on internet technology. We all own smartphones, what I was talking about last year. If that's the case, why didn't you increase the manpower 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and 5 years ago? In that case, you acted very slowly. You only increased the manpower last year. When did you provide the additional 70 officers? Or are they being deployed not to detect the cybercrime, but to monitor online activities?
Now you always use the offense of dishonestly using a computer to prosecute people, and you always use Facebook to see whether people are calling for a protest. Is it that most manpower has been spent on that aspect instead of cyber crimes? You say cyber crimes have jumped by 4 times, and yet the manpower you asked for is not devoted to cyber crimes. You use cyber crimes as a front, and you only want to monitor the activities on the internet. You are not monitoring cyber crimes as such, but social activists and also protests and marches. Can you clearly state when the 70 people were added and why there was an upsurge of 70% of the establishment for that division last year? And you mentioned a jump in cybercrimes for the last 5 years. Then why did you do nothing in this year before last? So my main question is, the 70 persons added, were they there to monitor social activism on the internet instead of cybercrimes? Mr. Lee asked many questions. I will answer them one by one. First of all, we have been increasing manpower for that division from time to time. When it was set up in 2002, there were only 26 people. 1 year after, the manpower jumped to 57. And then in 2009, we also added people, so there were 71 persons. And then in 2012, we added another 20. And then in January 2014, we decided to upgrade the division to the bureau. And according to that upgrading exercise, we added 70 people more. So you can see we look at the actual crime trend. So the public would have the appropriate protection when they use the internet. This is for targeting our actual work and the crime trend, and things are becoming complicated. This is also the trend for all police forces all over the world, and there are no other considerations. Now I'm asking you, are the 70 people devoted to monitoring the exchange of social activists on the internet instead of other cyber crimes? Under Secretary, in our paper, in the annex, we have stated how the additional manpower was deployed. If Mr. Lee has not read the paper, I will give an account here. We have 2 divisions. One is for investigation and the gathering of evidence and also training. That's one arm, and the other arm is internet security. And under cybersecurity, we would look at the overall volume of activities on the internet, and also the whether they are related to our important infrastructure, including our transport facilities and financial services, etc., whether they are under attack on the internet. Indeed, we have devoted more manpower to this, and we also have more people doing coordination. In other words, if we can see any cyber attack happening, that team will liaise with different industries and sectors to alert them to the situation. And if there is indeed an attack, we want to know how we can do the recovery and also prevent other attacks. We also have more people to do research and development, and also there is a new team. We call it the Cybersecurity Laboratory Team. We also have thematic research into cyber use to look at new trends of cyber crimes. These people are needed for our actual operations so we can really protect Hong Kong people when they use the internet and when they use the computer for their daily lives, so they will be properly protected. Next member, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Thank you, Chairman, and good morning. Thank you for that detailed explanation. The division was established in 2002 and you have been adding manpower to it. I was a victim. My website was hacked many times. Whenever I did something that the CCP did not like, it would hack into my account and hijack it to issue messages. I remember one time I said that we should have the flag flown at half-mast to commemorate the death of Zhao Ziyang, and my website was hijacked for 2 days until I held a press conference to say whether the National Security Bureau was already controlling Hong Kong. And then I don't know whether they suddenly cracked that crime, and so my website was recovered. This is quite openly done with high technology. This is a kind of cyber violence that you are using against reporters and activists. Are you aware of this? Do you want me to give you the newspaper cuttings? According to you, I would say that you should have about 57 people. You said in 2002 you had 20 people, and then 1 year after, you added the manpower to 57. And I think I did that in 2005. In other words, Zhao Ziyang died, and then I was proposing to have the flag flown at half-mast to commemorate him. Well, you were going on at length to explain your work, and okay, I allow you to have manpower training, but then you would also look at the volume of exchange so as to see whether there will be any attack on our important infrastructure. My experience was a case of cyber attack. Would there be an improvement if we allow you to open or create this post to protect ourselves here at LegCo, so that you would give the guarantee that our websites would not be hacked? Can you make that guarantee to the 70 members of LegCo? Chairman, I must emphasize, regardless of a person's background, if he or she should become a victim of cyber attack, if your computer is hacked, you should report to the police. Otherwise, we cannot help you. I would appeal to all people, including Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. You should report the case to the police. We would certainly follow up the matter. As for monitoring the volume of exchange on the internet, I must emphasize that we only look at important infrastructure. So, Mr. Leung, your website is not regarded as major infrastructure. And also, we need the consent of the other party. This is done on a voluntary basis. It's a kind of cooperation. We both think that we should protect the basic interests of the public because major infrastructure is used by the public on a daily basis. We are talking about banking and financial services, other public services, government services, and also transport services. On that basis, if any major infrastructure operator agrees to create this kind of relationship with the police, then systematically we will cooperate with them to help audit their cyber systems so as to enhance cyber security. And in case of a cyber attack, we will alert such operators in the first instance. And we would sit down and discuss what kind of measures can be taken to fend off the attack and how the recovery can be done in the case of an attack as soon as possible. Right, I understand. I was talking about cyber attack, and of course I know my website is not a major infrastructure. What I'm trying to say is, after you have more people, and I was giving you the example of a legislator's website that was hacked for 2 days. Do you have the experience of handling such cases before? And whether it be a hacker from anywhere, if they are not from this jurisdiction, what can you do? Undersecretary, can you give a brief response? Yes. Within our territory here in Hong Kong, we can provide you with protective measures. Therefore, you must report to us. And the Hong Kong police also work in tandem with other police forces. If an attack comes in from outside Hong Kong, the Interpol or the G8 channel, which is a point-to-point channel set up together with Europe, will be able to help us. This is a 24-hour system for mutual support. So there is this protection for Hong Kong people, but you first must report to police or else we cannot help you. I would appeal to you, Mr. Leung, come to us proactively and you will get to know how we can help you in the process. Thank you. Mr. Yu Si-wing. Thank you. Chairman, the figures are clear. In the last 5 years, we have experienced over 900 million in terms of financial loss because of cyber crimes, and the number of cases has jumped by 20 times. I believe we should upgrade the division to a bureau. But there are new modus operandi seen. People use the internet. We have smartphones that can be used as tools for crime. But in fact, we have seen something else. We are seeing the Bitcoin incident. It is a new way to commit crimes. And also Edward Snowden, who was trying to get confidential information about Hong Kong through improper channels. I am actually more concerned about the technology that this bureau can use. How do we compare with other advanced countries in terms of our technology level and the ability to crack crimes? Are you prepared to enhance our technology level? And also, I believe there is a reason behind the increase in manpower. Now, you are creating a permanent post in the bureau. I'd like to know whether you will look at the world trend and get prepared for what you will have to do in the next 3 to 5 years, and also the complementary manpower you would need so that we won't just follow, but we can lead the world. Undersecretary, thank you. Mr. Yu, you mentioned a viewpoint which is very correct. It is indeed a technology war. When we investigate cyber crimes, hackers can use very advanced technology. Therefore, a responsible law enforcement agent must make sure that our investigation abilities should be kept at world-class standards if we are to protect the public. This Cybersecurity and Technology Crime Bureau consists of people who have such abilities. 94% of the staff in this bureau have academic qualifications in information technology and computer science. We also send them to SENS Institute every year for training. This is an internationally renowned organization. Some of these staff also have a master's degree. The SENS Institute has done a really good job in providing new knowledge. And the Bureau has been enhancing its abilities throughout these years. At the Interpol, starting from 2013, the chief of the Bureau has been the vice chairman of a small group, a task force for Eurasia under Interpol. This was established in 2013, but in a row of 10 years before 2013, the head of the division has been the chairman of the working group on Southeast Asia. And every time the chairman was re-elected, we had wanted to give up the seat. But in the end, the votes came in for the Hong Kong chief to be the chairman of that working group. So it can reflect the knowledge level and technology level of the Hong Kong police force. In other words, we have gained the recognition of the Interpol.
We have also got accredited trainers, a qualification granted by Interpol so that they can train police officers from other jurisdictions in the field of cybercrime detection. So these officers went to Singapore, South Korea, and Thailand to train their police officers. It shows that they possess cutting-edge expertise. And from time to time, Hong Kong police force would organize training sessions with Interpol. Earlier this year, we had one such session. 2 years ago, there was another training session organized for this purpose. So I'm confident that the police would possess the necessary expertise to do their job. Mr. Midilao, we have been given some figures by the Undersecretary. We understand that the cybercrime is a serious situation. As you can see in the U.S. and our former Secretary for Security, Mrs. Regina Lau, has become a victim. And some ask why the bank was willing to give her back the money. If an ordinary person, it may be more difficult. And some people you ask us to contact the police so that we would know how you are treated by the police. I'm going to experience that personally tomorrow because I would be there going to a police station to be arrested. Maybe I should take my toothbrush with me. The Undersecretary has talked about a lot of things, a lab and other things. Well, I would like to pay a visit to broaden our horizons. Please, if you keep talking to another person while I'm speaking, how can I get your attention? Well, we have been given figures from 2006, 2007, 2009. The figures should have been set out in the paper, but they are not. So I've been trying to copy figures. In paragraph 10, it said that after setting up the CSTCB, it will not be a part of the CCB, and 106 posts will be transferred to this new bureau permanently. An additional 74 non-directorate posts have been created. Having read this, I don't know what it is about. Is it 106 plus 74? Or is the figure 106 inclusive of the 74? So what does it mean? 106 posts. What does the figure mean? Understand you need more people to tackle cybercrime. And Mr. Leung Kok Hong's website is not so-called, what's the term used? Infrastructure. Not infrastructure. Okay. I think we are part of the structure. We're not asking for any privilege. Of course, if we have a problem, we want you to investigate. We sometimes suspect that it's the work of the liaison office or the public security personnel from the mainland. We are concerned because we are getting more and more like the mainland. If we give you the money to do all these duties, how much more can you do? How much can you do to protect infrastructure? How can you assure us that this is not going to intrude on our citizens' privacy? 106 posts, as set out in the paper, is the number of officers permanently redeployed. It's very simple. It's reflected under the organizational reshuffle. We have the TCD and now the division. The TCD has been upgraded to CSTCB. The original TCD will be transferred to the new bureau, so it should be 106 plus 74. Is that correct? Well, more or less like that. Please, Undersecretary, please explain. I've put it like that. If it's just as simple as that. We want to make the optimum use of our manpower. Simply put, we have 181 posts. Apart from the CSP posts, we have it's about half and half.
幾個新增嘅位呢，我哋大部分呢。
For newly created posts, we have 51 on cyber security and 22 on technology crime. It's deployed in accordance with this organizational structure because they have to form teams. So simply put, with the increase in manpower, we have 181 officers, and the deployment on the two sides of the bureau will be about half and half. What about paying a visit by members here? But although we are not part of the infrastructure, but without us, how can you get this proposal approved? Well, it's a major infrastructure, a critical infrastructure, maybe the English term more familiar to Mrs. Lau. But if Ms. Lau says you are part of the infrastructure, I'm not saying members are infrastructure. Well, we are talking about very sensitive information. And also we have to deploy tactics which our adversaries will not know. And even internationally, a police force is not supposed to visit another police force. We have been refused visits by other police forces. There's a need to safeguard the security of our operational tactics. Mr. Chan Chi-chuen, we know that the TCD is a mysterious force. If we look at the history, there was the TCD, which is under the CCB. Our understanding all along is that it will be responsible for preventing or technology crimes, including hacking, cyber attacks. But recently, things have changed. From the time the TCD was established, it was not limited to technology deception or crimes, not just about commercial crimes and money. So my first question is, can you define for us technology crimes? If you look at the statistics, in the past, technology crimes were mainly about the commercial crimes, because it's under the Commercial Crime Bureau, CCB. But nowadays, the definition has been expanded. It would cover things such as someone writes in his Facebook account that they would like to embark on a certain collective action. That can be defined as technology crime. It includes access a computer with dishonest intent. We've been asking for figures, whether there are certain figures related to money and or not. So how wide is the definition for technology crimes now? We're concerned that the upgrading exercise and the provision of the new post is really about cyber intelligence and surveillance. As when we discuss the crime of access a computer with dishonest intent, we made the same points. So has your focus been shifted? Under Secretary, technology crimes is a category. It's not a crime per se. Police statistics categorize the figures under different crime categories. We haven't changed this since the establishment of the TCD. That the point is whether the crime is committed with the assistance or through some computer or technology. Overall speaking, some 60 to 70% of technology crimes that we have handled are related to commercial matters or internet games or frauds committed against individuals. In 2014, one of the categories is a commercial crime committed through the internet, such as illegal access to other people's computers using the hacking programs or Trojan horse programs, and also this theft, internet theft. And there's an increasing trend involving social media being used to conduct hacking activities leading to losses. And there's a new trend on the DDoS, and the increase is very significant, 10 times, from 3 cases to 30 cases. These are just cold facts. The distribution is more or less stable from year to year. Mr. Wong Kok Kin, Mr. Chen Chi-Chin, please queue up again. Mr. Wong Kok Kin. Technology advances have make our lives very convenient. So many people do not have to go to a bank anymore for their transactions. But there are loopholes created through the use of technology. We have seen cyber deception and cyber attacks. They present a lot of risk to our people. And cyber crimes are difficult to detect. To solve such cases, we have to rely on professionals. And criminals may be outside our jurisdiction. That's why we think we must enhance the police capabilities and more resources should be provided to the police. That's why we are in favor of giving the police more resources. Since such crimes might be committed in another jurisdiction, the solving of cyber crimes will require a lot of international collaboration. So I would like to ask the police what has been done in terms of international collaboration. Because sometimes we are concerned when we handle our bank accounts through the internet. Undersecretary, it's important that we go for international collaboration, cyber crimes, no boundaries, and very often the crime is committed outside Hong Kong. There's a R24/7, I-24/7 under the Interpol, and that is the collaboration is conducted around the clock.
We also have a mechanism under G8 with Europe, requiring countries and police forces to have point-to-point liaison with us. We can ask for assistance round the clock, and also together with advanced countries and other countries who are working very hard on cybersecurity, we have a very good basis of cooperation. Some of them are in the Americas, and then in Australia, and also in Asia. We have a very good liaison mechanism with the police forces there. I'd like to thank Mr. Wong for showing concern. And in fact, there are actual examples. Like last year, the Hong Kong police force detected a new trend. In the Philippines, there was an active nude chat criminal. He was doing phishing operations to find victims. If you fall into the trap, you will be extorted for money. The Hong Kong police force gathered a lot of information during our investigation, and then through the Interpol, we mounted a joint operation together with the US, UK, and the Philippines, and also Singapore police forces. And we were able to apprehend 58 criminals in all. They have been active for a long time. And the crime syndicate was involved in 111 crimes in Hong Kong. We know the importance of international cooperation, and we have achieved results. That is why we should not only plow in resources, but we should maintain a steering role in the international arena in terms of technology, liaison, and coordination of cross-boundary cooperation. We like to always maintain that advantage. Mr. Wong, any other questions? If not, Mr. Charles Mock. Thank you, Chairman. I certainly know that there is an upsurge of cybercrimes in recent years. I also know that the staff at this division have employed new technology to investigate crimes, and I know they are now much better equipped in terms of capability. The Undersecretary confirmed the capability of this division, and I agree with him. However, the biggest problem we have now is that we are worried that after the upgrading of the division into a bureau, it's just like this report by Wenwei Pao that we really trust. It says this is exclusive, and it says after having the bureau, if there are 180 people in the bureau, then there will be a lot of surveillance, and whoever is calling for activist activities will not be able to escape. It says here that the CCB and the TCD under it has always been responsible for following such trends and cracking down on such activities. The public are worried whether you would use new resources to track the posts of different people. It is not that something has happened. It is just that you do proactive, regular surveillance on the internet, and people are rightly worried. And I really like to ask the Undersecretary to confirm this report. It says here that the cases, it mentions the Occupy movement, etc., and also people are inciting public assemblies. It says that this is the responsibility of the TCD. I know that I have got the appointment for arrest, but I was contacted by the Organized Crime Bureau. So I'd like to ask about your division of work. Who conducts the investigation? We were shown some video clips, and I know this did not happen to me, but some members were shown their Facebook pages when they went to the police station. You call this evidence showing somebody has broken the law. I'd like to know whether the investigation is done by the TCD or the Organized Crime Bureau, and how do they cooperate? What is the extent of participation by the TCD? I really want to clarify this. We think this is not something the police should do, or is it that it is not done by the TCD, or it plays a supportive role? How do you operate? Undersecretary, can you answer the question? Undersecretary. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Mok, and I thank you for agreeing with us that we have a high capability level in investigating into cyber crimes. Well, actually, we tackle the real world and the cyber world in more or less the same way. We do patrol in the real world. We do that to help the public, and we are also aware of possible crimes happening. And there is this role of gathering criminal intelligence when we do patrols. And we do the same thing in the cyber world. Criminal intelligence is important so that we can prevent crimes from taking place, and we can also focus our resources in places where they are needed so that we use our resources in the most effective manner. The TCD, now how does it work with other investigation teams? Usually, since the TCD tackles the state-of-the-art cyber crimes, so to speak, and since their investigation staff have a lot of knowledge and ability in looking into cyber crimes, so when we need high-tech and advanced knowledge, which is not available to the average investigator, if we really need very advanced knowledge and technology, then the TCD will be called in, and the extent of participation will vary from case to case. If there is a big element of technology investigation, then the TCD will play a bigger role. If only a small piece of advice is required from the TCD will do so. The TCD might also help to get intelligence or evidence from the internet, and the investigation will be handed back to the relevant team. I will allow Mr. Wang Ting-kwong to have a go first. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask about the staff at the Bureau. Do they have professional qualification? Cybercrime is a new science, and it is different from day to day, and it is taking different forms. There are petty crimes of fraud, And then there are also huge deception cases. I think protests and calling for people to protest, I think those are really very petty crimes. Let us not be too boastful about those activities. I'd like to ask, therefore, about the professionalism of this bureau. The DAB supports the boosting of capabilities at the bureau, and we support giving you more manpower resources. Under Secretary? Thank you, Chairman and Mr. Wong. To ensure that the CSTCB has the capability to protect Hong Kong citizens from falling victims of cybercrime, we agree with you absolutely that the staff's knowledge and capabilities are kept at world-class levels. At the CSNTCB now, there are 94% of staff who have academic qualifications in computer and IT. There are some who hold doctorate and master's degrees. They have been sent to international training institutes from time to time, and they have been going to SENS Institute, which is a famous one. In cracking down on cyber crimes, the Hong Kong police has gained the recognition internationally. I can give you some examples. For example, in 2013, we have been the vice chairman of the Eurasia Expert Group of Interpol, and in the 10 years before 2013, we have been the chairman of the working group for Asia and South Pacific, and that was for the 10 years before 2013. Some of the staff at the Bureau have been given recognition by the Interpol in terms of their knowledge and experience, and they have been appointed accredited trainers of the Interpol. They have been to Singapore, South Korea, and Thailand to train police officers in gathering intelligence and investigating cyber crimes. We were giving the Interpol a hand in training police officers of different places to bring them up to par. And because of this, the Interpol joined hands with the Hong Kong Police Force twice in organizing technology crime training workshops. We did so in 2013 and again this year. All Interpol members will take part, especially those in Asia and the Pacific. So we understand that we need to maintain our knowledge and technology at a high level so the international community will give recognition to our ability. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, any more questions? Now, on the screen, I can see Mr. Lee Cheuk Yen and Emily Lau lining up for a second round. Would any member like to speak in the first round? Please press the button. Now, I myself have some questions. The 180 strong team who are in the Bureau, are they all police officers? Do you have people who do not belong to the police establishment? Yes, Chairman. Yes, there are civilians. I can give you the numbers. Maybe the police has the figure. Can I defer to the police to give you the breakdown between police officers and civilian staff? I think in a footnote you have the numbers there. But my question is, I'd like to know whether you have done direct recruitment in order to fill posts at the Bureau. In other words, you have new recruits going into the Bureau. You say your need professionals to be in the bureau. The person may hold a doctorate degree in IT, but this person only knows IT and he may not qualify to be a police officer. So did you do direct recruitment to fill posts in the bureau? If yes, how many? Now we still have police officers in the bureau. Our policy is also to only deploy police officers because in terms of investigation, you need to exercise police powers given to us by the law to do it. So we would provide training to police officers to equip them with the knowledge and to gain experience in cybercrime detection. Second question. Under Secretary, you talked a lot about cooperation with the Philippines and UK, etc. I'd like to ask you this question. Taking the nude chat example, the criminal was in the Philippines, the server may be in the Philippines, but the victim is in Hong Kong. Very often, this happens very often with cross-boundary cyber crimes. Which jurisdiction has the power to put this person on a warrant for arrest?
嘅模式或者有冇
Have you got a system for this? Have you talked to the DOJ about this? And how about cyber criminals outside Hong Kong? Have we been able to successfully extradite such criminals to Hong Kong and got them convicted? I will ask Mr. Chan from the police force to respond on the new chat cases, and that is the criminal is outside Hong Kong, but the victim is in Hong Kong. When we collect evidence, we understand what happened, and we gather the necessary evidence, and through Interpol collaboration, the information will be transferred to the Filipino police force. And then we have to resort to the mutual legal assistance. The arrest will be made by the Filipino police force locally. If necessary, they would also ask the victim in Hong Kong to provide information or to go to the Philippines to testify against the criminal. So no extradition process is involved. Have you handled other cases that would involve mutual legal assistance and extraditions, or not according to past experience? Because the victims will have their computers hacked, and then there will be the use of computer outside Hong Kong for the hacking activities. The local police there can take action, and there's no need for extradition. Next, we have Ms. Sid Ho for the first round. Thank you, Chairman. Well, the Undersecretary has said that they also do cyber patrols. Let's say, if you go to have a look at the Facebook accounts, some information is open, some information is not. Are you going to look into both categories? Well, if it's open, then it's just like what we do in the real world. Police officers will patrol our streets, and if a criminal matter is detected, of course a report would be made. We cannot have access to non-open information. So it's not something that the police force can act on. It's just a worry. Non-open information is not accessible by the police without the consent of the owner or the account holder. Of course, if a serious crime is involved, the police can invoke certain powers, which will be subject to the oversight of the courts, such as matters which required a permission by the court before a search can be conducted. Say, in an open discussion forum, you notice that someone has asked or urged other netizens to do certain things, and ask interested people to join a certain group. Would you be sending another cover officer to join the group, or would you be applying for a warrant or permission from the court to access the necessary information, or would you be asking the service provider to monitor the activities of that particular group? So what kind of procedure would you be following? What kind of powers would you be invoking under Secretary? Well, I'm not in a position to discuss how the police conduct investigations. I'm not referring to individual cases, Chairman. Well, whatever the police do, there must be a legal basis. So under different circumstances, they would invoke different powers as authorized by the law for the investigations and to take follow-up action. Well, the laws are open information. I don't think we have a piece of law, a piece of legislation authorizing the police to do things in secret without anyone knowing it. So when we ask you the powers that you are going to invoke in your investigation, and you cannot tell us any information, how can we approve this item? Well, there are examples that we can refer to. If you want to access information of a internet chat room, what kind of the procedures you can use? They can also send someone undercover to join the group. Well, maybe you should respond to my questions first. Generally speaking, either the subject itself will have to agree to the access, and then the police will also enjoy powers. Like, for example, if we want to conduct a search of a dwelling, we need to have a warrant. Under different laws, we can invoke different powers to conduct a search. I can give you information about the relevant provisions. But in our investigations, in particular criminal investigations, when there's evidence, a warrant can be applied from the court. For example, if it's a robbery case, illegal criminal acts, and dangerous drug cases, this may be the procedure we use. The police will always rely on statutory powers to do this. If you just follow the procedures of just like other cases, then I can accept the answer. Let me follow up, ask a follow-up question. I'll give you back some time. I've asked a question myself. So are you going to send undercover agents to spy on internet chatting room activities? Well, I'm concerned about the suppression of freedom of speech, and then you can use the all-embracing crime of access to computer with dishonest intent. So is undercover operation part of the methodology? Well, I'm not going to make public the practices and approaches adopted by the police here. What I can say is that whatever the police do, it must be strictly in accordance with the law. If you talk about crimes prosecuted under Section 161, they only account for 10% of the total. So 90% of the cyber crimes are not prosecuted under that provision. We have to put the record straight. Under Section 161, We are talking about criminal cases, public order cases. There's a case involving the claim that there's a bomb somewhere. It's a bomb hoops case, or it can be a case of wasting police time. It's not correct to say that we prosecute most of the cases under Section 161. It's just 10% of the total. It's clearly a minority. Mr. Lee Chak-yan, I think the Undersecretary has confirmed what my first question was driving at, and that is whether this application is about monitoring the speeches made on the internet in the guise of detection of crime. You have 50-odd officers on cyber crime and another 50-odd on technology crimes. So I would say a majority would be for monitoring internet activities. The Labour Party, of course, support an increase in manpower to tackle serious cyber crimes. We don't want to see a repeat of Mrs. Regina Yip's case. There are people carrying out deception through cyber crimes. And 60 or 70% of these crimes are commercial crimes involving transactions carried out through the internet. If you deploy manpower to prevent cyber deception, then of course no one will object. But now it's clearly not the case. More officers will be deployed on so-called cyber security, and there's a lack of transparency. There are 3 divisions under cyber security. You have one on detection, one on intelligence, and then development team, laboratory team, cyber intelligence. What are they doing? What are these teams doing? We just haven't got a clue. It's totally not transparent. So in an indirect way, the Undersecretary has confirmed that the increase in manpower or the upgrading exercise is for the purpose of not combating cyber crimes. Although you said that 10% of cases are related to Section 161 or access to a computer with dishonest intent, but 50% or more officers will be on cyber security. Before June, the 4th of June, the Hong Kong Alliance website was hacked, and then when we wanted to conduct a poll on the internet, Dr. Robert Jones' website was also hacked and attacked. But most of the new manpower, additional manpower, will be deployed on monitoring speeches on the internet, which is a disproportionate move. So, Undersecretary, this come clean. It's not about detecting technology crime or cyber crime. It's about monitoring speech, over the cyberspace. What are they doing? Cyber watch team, cyber intelligence team, and the like. I think most of the things, as Mr. Lee has said, are incorrect. We have deployed officers to different posts on cyber security. We have increased our manpower. The additional manpower will be for overall security matters, such as cyber attacks, DDoS, for example. We want to protect all people so that they will not be victims or attacked by DDoS. There are also new duties. Well, we want to increase the collaboration, the scope of collaboration. We are talking about international collaboration, which is very important in exploring new tactics. The collaboration teams will be working with overseas parties and local collaborators. They are not doing enforcement. Second, under cybersecurity section, we have a research and development team and also a cybersecurity laboratory team, which is a new area of work. And then we have topical studies to look into new tactics of hackers. And then we have been talking about worm attacks recently. If you don't invest, you are not able to know about this.
嘅活動呢係微不足道，杯水車薪。
It is just peanuts if you look at the number of cybercrimes and the people we deploy to detect them. Well, I have the responsibility to, of course, explain to members what these people do. That is why I will do my best to answer all questions so you can understand the situation. In asking for more manpower this time around, we are only looking at our actual operational needs. We have the responsibility to prevent crime and also detect crime. All divisions in the police force have that responsibility. This is what the police force ordinance requires all police officers to do. In our daily work, when police officers come to know intelligence about law-breaking, he must submit that intelligence. Mr. Lee also said if somebody falls victim of cybercrimes, I really encourage and I always appeal to victims to report to the police. Don't just say so in the airwaves. And also the disadvantage of not reporting to the police is that we are kept away from the latest modus operandi and the latest trend of crime commission. So anyone who is a victim of cybercrime should report to the police ASAP. And if the police do not do a good job, I will take them to task. But I trust the police ability and their track performance. Thank you, Ms. Emily Lau. Chairman, just now the Undersecretary refused my request to visit the center. I think that makes me more worried. Yes, I understand there may be sensitive and security issues, but you can still allow legislators to pay a visit. We are talking about legislators. Members of the Finance Committee would like to take a look, so I hope you will give it further thought. Why would you just refuse us outright? I really want to go and take a look at the laboratory, cyber security laboratory. Secondly, I asked the Undersecretary how many attacks have been cracked. Please let me know how powerful you are. And I asked how many complaints you received for legislators, the non-critical infrastructure. I don't know this term in English either. Maybe we should use Putonghua because I don't know it in Cantonese or English. I am talking about the average person. How many complaints have you received? How many requests for assistance have you received? And also, on the mainland, they have internet police who patrol the internet to keep surveillance on the public. Is it that you would not do that? Undersecretary. Chairman, let me explain again why I would think that we cannot agree to the request to visit our cybersecurity center. As I said, even mutual visits among police forces have been refused because each police force knows that we have to keep such work highly confidential because a lot of operational and technology-wise sensitive information is involved, and they wouldn't like to divulge any of it, because if any of that goes out of the police force, it means criminals will be able to get hold of it. Anything else? He hasn't finished. He's just catching his breath. Why do you need so much time to catch your breath? Are you okay? Next, I'd like to explain again what we do about critical infrastructure. And I am really talking about, for example, the transport system. We would have a mechanism of synergy or cooperation with the operators. We will help to audit and assess the computer security system basing on what they need. And now that we have the new bureau, we would go and visit the premises. We would talk to them even about training and management culture. And the monitoring of activities on the internet, we don't really look at the content. We only look at the volume of activities. You can rest assured that the other party has to give their consent, or else we have no power to look at their cyber activities, and we should not do so. So there is no possibility of us looking into the details of cybersecurity. And it's just like looking at a tunnel. If we see traffic congestion, then I can only see that there is traffic congestion. And we would ask why there is such a big traffic flow, but we would not be looking at the car plates. We don't even know the car models, and of course not the drivers. So we can rest assured. Emily Lau, any follow-up? I did not ask about that. I just said that we are not critical infrastructures. I was asking about the number of attacks that you cracked and how many complaints you received from the public against you prying into their activities on the internet. Do you have the information? In 2014, the Cybersecurity Center discovered 11,927 malicious attacks and phishing websites, 9,674, and fake websites, 1,068. According to the intelligence and also this kind of information, we tackled 198 zombie websites and also a big number of cyber attacks. So you can see what the Cybersecurity Center is doing. It tries to discover malwares and also phishing operations. Now, how do we tackle this? How do we cope with these zombie websites, etc.? This is what they do. How many complaints did you receive? Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. First, I really salute to Mr. Lee, the Undersecretary. You should be the government's information coordinator because he never has any answers for us. But you have been able to answer many questions. You said LegCo members cannot pay a visit to the Cybersecurity Center because you have to keep things confidential. You mean you are afraid people know where the server is, so people can physically attack your server location? Is that what you mean? Is it that nobody knows where your servers are placed and you want to keep the address secret? If members go there, people will know where you place your servers and people can attack you in other ways. Is that what you mean? Because I did not follow what you said. Is that what you mean? Undersecretary. Chairman. Well, some systems are stronger than others at the cybersecurity center, and some of them may be weak at certain points, so they can be attacked. We don't want to publicize the information, but we are not targeting at anybody. We, of course, respect lawmakers. That is why I'm doing my best to explain things to you and also to build your confidence in what we are proposing here. But I must also make sure that the operational ability of the center will not be weakened in any way. Please allow me to continue. It is not that we don't just disallow lawmakers to go there. I myself have not been there either. We don't even allow officials to go there because we operate by the need-to-know basis. Not even police officers who are not working at the center are allowed to go in. So let's be fair. We are not targeting anybody. We are saying we have to preserve the capability security of the center so that the center can protect Hong Kong people from cyber attacks, so that the capabilities of the police force in this respect will not be dealt a blow. I hope you understand it. No, I'm saying, is it that you don't want to make public the address where servers are placed? Just say yes or no. That was my question. Where the server is installed, is that an important piece of intelligence that people should know only on a need-to-know basis? We are now televised, and people may not understand what you are saying. If you just say yes, then I will not continue with this line of questions. And if you say yes, if we let people know where we are, they can bomb us. Because even if you say yes, we still do not know where the servers are placed. You might have placed it in our basement here with our consent. Therefore, you should give clear answers. Or else, you cannot convince me why we cannot go there and pay a visit. I'm not reprimanding you. I'm trying to clarify your answer. If you say yes, I will not make further requests to pay a visit. I will ask you other questions. Is that what you mean? Are you applying the need-to-know principle to this visit? Is it that even C.Y. Leung cannot go and take a look? Is that right? Is that what you mean? Under Secretary, can you answer that question? Chairman, you mentioned the location. Yes, we want to keep that confidential as well. Okay, then I will have a second question for you. Those people who work there know where it is, right? What kind of vetting do you do about these people? Even C.Y. Leung cannot go there, you say. So what kind of vetting are the staff at the center subject to? This is a crooked argument. How can you convince me that those people who work at the center will forever be loyal? They also work on a need-to-know basis, but they can be transferred out of the center. And you also say there are civilians at the center. I understand only police officers have the power to investigate crimes. Mr. Leung, please give the floor to the Undersecretary. Yes, we do integrity checking because we are talking about keeping confidential operational and investigation information, which is very sensitive. And I can also disclose to Mr. Leung that in terms of confidentiality, we work with certain concepts. And apart from the police officers and the parties concerned, the management should also take measures to make sure confidentiality can be kept. In English, we call this compartmentalization. In other words, I only allow you to know the least that you should know so you cannot be too destructive. After all these years, the police have very effective measures, and we believe we have taken appropriate measures. And I don't think there is any cause for worry for Mr. Leung. In terms of management, security, and keeping confidentiality, I would say police officers who are working on cybersecurity are doing very well. Next one, Mr. Raymond Chan. Thank you, Chairman. I have always said the police is the most secretive government department, and I'm using it in a neutral way. One, because it deals with a lot of confidential matters, and two, maybe for political reasons. Therefore, it's difficult for us to pose questions to the police because the police don't want us to know too much. However, in my first round, I asked a very practical question. I asked about the statistics and categorization of cyber crimes. Mr. Lee has already said that he could give me a written answer. Of course, we understand there is an upsurge of cyber crimes. You talk about internet shopping, money laundering, and the publication of obscene articles involving children. And I'm also very concerned about bitcoins and people stealing weapons and points on the internet. People can jump to their deaths because their weapons and points are stolen on the internet. Of course, you should increase security so you protect people's life and limb and also assets. But of course, having followed this discussion, you would know that we are very worried that by boosting the Bureau, you would be doing something to do surveillance on the internet, and you do it in an excessive manner.
從純粹話呢個之前衍生由商業罪案調查科衍生出。
So the concern is that you become more politicized. So we want to know about the manpower deployment. But the more I ask, the more unclear it is. For example, cybersecurity to me means prevention of hacking. Are we talking about cyber police? And they will do the patrols just like beat officers on the street. And then they see something untoward in certain chats, they would handle it. And also, the division of labor is unclear. For example, when we went to the police officer, I was taking a statement by the CCB because maybe the surveillance had been taking place for a long time. They knew a lot about our Facebook accounts and our views expressed on the internet. So, the Secretary, give us some statistics. How many officers will be doing the surveillance and monitoring on the internet? Well, we know that not all the crimes are prosecuted under Section 161. As we have been told that they would just go down the easier route. They will invoke certain sections if it's easier to prosecute, attempt to commit arson or disrupt public opinion. We are concerned about this approach. I don't know whether if this Undersecretary knows our concern. If someone has asked other people to set fire on something, should we allow it? Or is a judgment on the part of everyone? Well, it's just an example. Don't take it that I want to connive at arson or to encourage people to commit arson. Or I was only referring to the point made by Mr. Chan. We will provide the statistics. It's our duty. And as I have explained in answering other members' questions, when it comes to collection of criminal intelligence, it's the responsibility of every officer. It's just like a patrol officer who has noticed a car parked there for a long time. Suddenly you see some fingerprints at the door handle, and through some observation, he may suspect car theft or TCWA. all officers will have to pay attention to things this. And that's a duty to report. And suitable action should be taken. Mr. Sin Chung Kai. You have 6 different sections, maybe 7 now. I would like to know the staff establishment of the sections. You have Cyber Security Division. You have the bureau headed by CSP. Can we be given the headcount numbers? We want to see if the manpower is evenly distributed, or we have a lopsided situation with some of them. We have 180 officers. We can give you the breakdown figures. But generally speaking, under the 2 superintendents, they will be heading half of the total number of officers. Let me refine my question. How many people are under the Technology Crime Division and how many under Cyber Security Division? Or instead of a superintendent, you now have a chief superintendent. How many officers will come under the 2 superintendents? Of course, the team sizes differ. We cannot really make a comparison on the basis of numbers because complexity differs. A commercial crime will take a few years to investigate. So you may not have a large number of officers, and yet the workload is heavy. And sometimes the work is about the number of people doing it, and sometimes it's about the use of technology. So we cannot make direct comparisons like that. For example, under the organized and serious crime bureau, 130, and the narcotics divisions, 140. For the Cyber Security and Technology Crime Bureau, is going to be 130. Are you saying that the biggest one is 400 plus, the smallest one 130? For CSTC Bureau is in the lower middle range? Yes, I've been telling you the figures in regard to investigation. Dangerous drugs 400, organized and serious crime 130. For this new bureau is 180. It's fewer than dangerous drugs and narcotics, but more and higher than another bureau. Are we going to see further expansions of this bureau in the divisions? For those mainly responsible for technology crime division and cyber security divisions, no. Well, before this becomes a division, a bureau is a division. Now you have 7 bureaus. Are there other bureaus that would see expansions? So your question is, are we going to see divisions upgraded to bureaus? Yes, for this one, a division would be upgraded to bureau. Are we going to upgrade other divisions to bureaus? And you want to know whether there will be another upgrading, or how many divisions will be upgraded to bureau? The answer is no. Mr. Sin Chung Kai, any further questions? It's already 12:38. I'll allow Mr. Charles Moore and Mrs. Ho to ask their questions. They have given 5 minutes each, and then we have to defer this item to 8:30 on the 29th of April. Mr. Charles Moore. I want to ask a follow-up question with regard to the collaboration between the organized crimes bureau and this bureau. But since another member has asked a question about a visit, Mr. Leung Kok-hong, if you pay a visit, you're not going to see the servers. You'll be going to a conference room, and that's it. So if you go for a visit, you won't know where the servers are. I visited other departments such as the Customs and Excise Department. I would like to know whether there's a big difference between the secrecy provision of the police vis-a-vis the C&E department. Well, we visited the lab there. I hope what I'm saying now would not lead to tightening up or more restrictions imposed by the C&E department. I can tell Mr. Leung Kok-hong through chairman, and I can also tell the undersecretary this. I've been monitoring things expressed through the internet. I sort of know where the center, Internet Security Center is, because Mr. Regina Yip posted 3 photos on the 22nd of April 2013 saying that this morning we went to the Wan Chai Police Headquarters to visit the newly established Cyber Security Center. So is it a different organization from what we are talking about? From the photos, I know that they were in a conference room. 7 EXCO members, including Anna Wu, Zhang Qiguang, W.K. Lam, Regina Yip, Mrs. Fanny Law, Professor Li Guoqiang, and at the time a member, Mr. Benny Zhang. You said you respect us, Under Secretary. Are you saying that EXCO members command more respect? I just wanted to clarify. I wanted to clarify this, but the information is already available. And Mr. Regina Yip tells us the scope of work, and she admires the work of the center. We are in the same position. Why can't we be given a chance to visit? Let's have an answer, Under Secretary. First, I have to stress that the secrecy is about many factors. Mr. Leung's question is just about one of them. So what Mr. Leung has said is not the entirety of confidentiality or secrecy, and I cannot say any more because of consideration of secrecy. So has Mrs. Regina Yip disclosed some secret, or did he make it up that she joined such a visit? Did EXCO members visit this cyber security center, or are you saying that some members could visit the cyber security center, or are you saying that visits can be made to the cyber security center but not to the bureau? I will ask my colleagues from the police to respond. Some EXCO members did visit us in 2013, in April 2013. At that time, the Cyber Security Center was not up and running in full scale. So is that the point that the center can be visited if it's not up and running, but not when it's up and running. Mr. Chan, as the Undersecretary has said, first, when the center is fully up and running, and if we disclose the technical operations to someone outside, then the capability of prevention of cybercrime can be compromised. And in order to enhance cyber security, we have collaboration with outside organizations and parties, and there are secrecy provisions involved. And if we allow a visit, such arrangement may be compromised. Maybe my question, let me ask this question. Has any LegCo members or ExCo members visited the center after it's been up and running? Actually, LegCo members visited the CCB, and now you want to keep it secret because you have to handle cyber security and technology crime. That has prompted us to ask more questions. In the past, we were allowed to visit because it was about commercial crimes, but there was just some equipment there, and we were told that you can retrieve the information stored in the computer even when it's damaged or destroyed.
Now, we want to attach such high level of confidentiality to this center. I'd like to ask you for some information. First of all, is it that you have this location in Hong Kong or outside Hong Kong? And if I may go to enclosure 3, the organization chart, under cyber security division, there are the teams. I'd like to know what are those collaboration teams doing? Do they do international collaboration and mainland collaboration? I hope you can answer it separately. And if you have to collaborate with mainland law enforcers, do Hong Kong police officers only act according to Hong Kong laws? Undersecretary. Thank you, Chairman. 3 questions. Number 1, whether the location is in Hong Kong. Yes, it is in Hong Kong. Number 2, what do our collaboration teams do? This is the second time I have explained to members. The collaboration teams work with police officer teams outside Hong Kong and other enforcement agencies. They also collaborate with G8 and the Interpol. What about the mainland? Number 3, we also do collaboration with different sectors within the territory, especially the controlling officers of computer systems for major infrastructure or critical infrastructure. And when we work together with other enforcement agencies outside Hong Kong, whether they be from the US, the UK, Australia, or the mainland, certainly we do things according to the legal principles of Hong Kong. We must operate within the legal framework of Hong Kong. Ms. Sito, also like the Undersecretary to give us written replies to this. In enclosure 3, in that organization chart, I'd like you to look at, for example, technology crime. You have the police translator, translation, etc. I need to know the establishment and strength of every team, every section. And also for cyber security, I need to have the establishment and manpower strength of all the teams and the divisions. And also, I'd like to follow up on my question asked in the first round about a covert operation. I'd like to give a comment. Just now, the Undersecretary did not deny. He did not say that they definitely would not do covert operations. Whenever officials do not deny something, I take it that they admit it. I'm worried that you set up traps for Internet users when you do covert operation on the internet. You know, people are so free with making comments on the internet. We are very used to having freedom of speech, and young people don't know where to draw the line. Sometimes you would set up a trap and you entice people to make radical comments, and then other people respond. Then you would prosecute those people who respond for accessing computer with a dishonest intent. I think the Undersecretary will not answer me, and he may not say a lot to answer me. But I'd like to put this on record. I hope that your future detection or surveillance work will not be done in such a way that you entrap the internet users. Undersecretary. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Sitho's request for information will be acceded to, but I need to also emphasize certain things. Ms. Sitho said that if you don't deny, you admit it. I don't think so. The logic is clear. If an assumption is an assumption, it is an assumption. And secondly, how do the police gather intelligence? Again, we have to do it within the realm of Hong Kong laws. And Hong Kong laws stipulate that you cannot entice people or entrap people to break the law. If it is done by the police officers also break the law. I emphasized just now that the Security Bureau and the Hong Kong Police Force have to ensure that all police officers must act according to the laws of Hong Kong when they do this. So, Ms. Sitho, you need not be unduly worried. I give you 10 more seconds, Ms. Sitho. When you did covert operation to crack down on one-woman brothels, you did that all the time. You actually enticed the women prostitutes to engage in immoral acts. It's just that they dare not complain. Okay, this item will be rolled over to the next meeting, which will be held on the 29th of April at 8:30 a.m. Thank you very much, members, and I thank the officials for coming. There will be a special meeting on applications to join the establishment subcommittee. It will be held on the 17th of March, a Tuesday, at 10:45. Thank you very much.